Hey there. We have enough to worry about with our 401ks without making some of these critical mistakes. I've known some people that have done these. I've done a few silly ones myself. But the last one I want to talk to you about is really can be very expensive. So let's get into it. And right now, with the volatility of the market going on, I mean, it was down another 2% today. It's really tough not to get caught up and swept up in worrying about it. But you don't compound the issue by doing some of these other things, okay? So the first one is that you're not going to believe this, that there are 29 million unclaimed 401ks out there. 29 million. To the tune of 1 point something trillion dollars worth of money that people have basically forgotten about. They changed jobs, didn't roll the money, didn't think about it, forgot all about it. So these are unclaimed. And you may want to do some research. You might be part of that crowd that you got some money laying out there you didn't know about. You forgot that you had it at a job, and then you moved on and never did anything about it. All right, the second mistake you could be making with your 401k that's not good for it is not knowing what your investment strategies are and what your investments are you're making, period. A lot of people are not paying attention at all, and they just have their money going into it, and it's going into like a set thing that maybe the company put forth instead. What you want to do at least is go into risk averse and managed programs. A lot of them are based on age, where you can set up and say, okay, I plan to retire at this age or at this year. Give me the best portfolio for that. And most of them are safer investments. But at the very minimum, as you get older, you need to go in and look at your risk assessments and do some mitigating so that you're not heavy into volatile markets at 55 and 60 when you're closing in on retirement date and you're still buried under these heavier markets. And again, I want to emphasize that I am not a financial advisor. I'm just giving you basic information. Do some due diligence. Go talk to your advisor and get some advice on how to mitigate these risks so that you get the most out of your money. All right, the next one is not getting your company's match on your 401k. And I can't believe some people would leave money laying on the table. I used to work with a guy that would say things like, what's the matter? You mad at your money? That's why you don't want to work overtime, or that's why you don't do the company match. I even worked with a guy that insisted that 401ks were a scam and a Ponzi scheme for the company to make more money off of you. Like the money went to them and then they managed it and decided how bad it was going to be for you to use the money. And of course, they're not Ponzi schemes and they're not scams. So if nothing else, if you can't be a good saver, if you've got too many financial obligations right now to be better at saving, at least do the 401k match that your employer offers. My employer offers 3% because I have a pension, 3% match. My son is not eligible for pension because he was hired under a newer contract, so his 401k contribution is 5 or 6%. And from this point going forward, our union will negotiate every time they talk about retirement now. They will be talking about upping the 401k match that the company provides to the people not eligible. And to go along with that, the next step is to make sure that you are vested. Many companies have a minimum amount of requirement time that you have to be employed to get your 401k vested completely and to get the company's match money. So if you leave too early, you may not be entitled to that cash. I don't remember what ours was specifically. It might have been 5 years to be fully vested. And we also had to wait a year before we could start to use the 401k when I first got hired at this company 29 years ago. But things have changed. So make sure you're fully vested if you decide to leave and change jobs, and make sure that you understand what those numbers are and how much. Sometimes it could be, you could be vested for up to 3 years, be 3 years in and get a 50% vested interest from the company's money. It's hard to say. Every company has a different way they do things. So those are things you're just going to have to check out for yourself and for the employer that you have. All right, this next one is one that a lot of people have been guilty of, and that is taking early withdrawals on your money. And it's very faux pas because obviously if you do it before you're 59 and a half, you not only get dinged on your taxes for taking the money, but you get dinged an additional 10% for taking money you weren't eligible for at this point. You have to be 59 and a half to take that money out without penalty. However, it does still have the tax implications, and a lot of people don't think about that. So if you take take money at the end of the year, uh, let's just throw a number at 10 grand out there. Well, you just increase your taxable income by 10 grand as well. So make sure you're checking into that. Make smart decisions with the money. Don't take out because, it's funny in my 401k program, and it's a Fidelity owned. Anytime you talk about taking a loan or taking a withdrawal, it will actually go through the numbers and put up there and tell you how much you're losing in compounded interest from taking that money out. And that's a nice eye opener and wake up call for people to make sure that they really are thinking about it. Is this the best thing to do? When you got 5 years in and you don't have a lot of money in there, you don't think about it much. But that seed money in the beginning is what really makes the big money at the end. So make sure that you think about those things before you withdraw. Now, people take money out for a lot of reasons, and a lot of them are good reasons. I understand. Emergency situations, people take them out for medical bills where they're about to go under or they're having a financial crisis of some kind. So I do understand why they do it. But I actually worked with a couple, excuse me, and they both worked where I work and retired, and they withdrew their 401k money, almost all of it, and paid off all of their debt, and then took the rest and paid cash for a property, and then we're just going to live on their pensions and their Social Security for the rest of their life. Not necessarily a bad plan. However, they had spending problems to begin with, and what do you think ended up happening? They went right back to those bad habits, and they ended up in debt again with credit cards and buying cars they couldn't afford, etc. And now they have no money, and they can barely make things work with the money they do have. And all of their money they do have is tied up in equity in a property they have to be able to sell. And with the market the way it is with housing and 7% interest rates, a lot of buyers are not buying right now. So the last thing you want to do is to dig yourself out of one hole and into another one by taking your 401k money to pay off debt, especially if you're not good with your money. And it can take a long time for people to realize and gain financial maturity to where they don't just spend every dime they have, and they realize how to live within their means within a budget. The quicker you get to that point, the better off it's going to be for you in the end. All right, and as promised, the last one here, number 6, is I was surprised about this, but we talked about it in the beginning, how there's all these unclaimed 401ks out there. Well, here's a situation where people are switching jobs, and it's happening more often now, especially if you're not pension eligible. Like, I'm kind of tied to my pension. I have to do my 30 years to get the full benefit. But in most cases, 401ks you can take with you to other jobs. Here's the situation. A lot of people are not doing that. They're not rolling their 401k from this job to the next job. I know of people that have started where I'm at that came from another local business that took their money out of their 401k when they changed jobs and used the money to do other things, buy cars, pay things off, whatever they decided to do. And I've heard them talk about it with other people, so I know it to be true. Because their theory was, I'm starting over, I'm still going to have to work for 30 years, I got plenty of time to rebuild my 401k. Not that that's not true, but it's not necessarily a great idea. And a lot of that goes par and parcel with this is that a lot of the people that changed jobs came to a job that paid more money and didn't up their 401k contributions to match the new income. So you went from making 50 to 75,000, and now you could be putting a bigger percentage in because you have more income and you're not. Well, this can be losses to the tune of some $300,000 or more over the life of that 401k. And 55% of the people are not doing this and not rolling that money into the new 401k and then upping their contributions to maximize the benefits. So again, going back to the volatility of the market, it was down another 2% today. Who knows what this week is going to bring for us? Try not to obsess too much about it, but your 401k for most people is their biggest lifeline outside of Social Security. So you need to make sure you're paying attention to that and not make any of these other critical mistakes that can cost you a fortune in your 401k in the end. Anyway, thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.